Hi everyone, I am Alyssa Sales from For His Kingdom Farms. This is my first YouTube video and a goat is trying to get my camera. Hi Tessie. We're in the goat pasture today. It might be better if I just hold this. But this feels so unnatural. But I've learned when God feels like He calls you to something, you don't just not do it, you do it even if you're scared. So we are here, and I might have to get out of the goat pasture because they are very curious. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to talk about. I have so many ideas, but like you put a camera in front of my face and I get like very shy. I am naturally an inverted person. Not inverted, introverted. I'm an introverted person. Okay, we'll see how long this lasts. But I'm an introverted person that likes to be on the farm, and I think I've always loved the farm life because it makes you slow down and appreciate these things. And it's just been such a beautiful gift, and I'm very thankful that God followed through. Like, the Lord always keeps His promises, and from a young age, I think the really beautiful thing is that God puts things on your heart for a reason. And as I've gotten older, as a child, I've always wanted to be like a mother, live on a farm, and be a missionary, which is kind of, I don't know, but I'll get back to that later. And so I'm doing 2 out of 3 right now. And God's been kind of calling me to YouTube to do that ministry side of things. And I don't need to go into a different continent or a different city to be a missionary. My ministry can be motherhood, my ministry can be the farm. And I'm slowly starting to come into that and be like, okay, God, I'm going to obey what you tell me. Back to that, I think it's so beautiful that God can put things in our hearts at such a young age, and then to see it into fruition to where I'm at right now. And it just shows that God is faithful, and what He has in our hearts, I think, do truly come true if we really listen and obey and get away from the noise and just sometimes sit in silence, because I have so much to share with you guys, including the story of how we got goats. That is totally a God thing. But we would have not have gotten goats if we weren't sitting in silence and listening. So that's a really fun story. But to kind of get into it without, okay, it's just going to be easier if I hold this. To get into it is that I'm a very introverted person. And I think the world today that we live in is full of that noise that I was talking about, and it's very odd because we have a world that is so connected with social media and so connected on so many levels, but we lack real community and real conversations. And my purpose with this YouTube is to, Naomi, stop sniffing the camera. My purpose with this YouTube is to bring some of that connection back, but more in a genuine way, like real life, because I think, well, we all know that social media is just highlight reel of everything. Like, social media doesn't show you that she just nibbled on my back, right? Like, no one wants to talk about that. But girl, trying to drink my water. I think with social media and the world being so connected, we just kind of lost true connection, true community. We're told to be girl bosses and do this and do that, and this is the way to be successful, and we've lost the realness and authenticity. I don't really like that word, but you know what I mean. And I think it's important to bring that back and to really focus on what really matters. And to me, that is God, that is family, that is these goats, because not only are they fun and annoying, they provide my family with milk. And just like a lot of things in the farm, it takes you back to your roots, and also just gives you a purpose, I guess would be the best way to say it. It gives you a purpose to be doing something. And I feel in a world, I mean, maybe that's why, God did create us for a garden, right? So we started off in a garden until, all the fall, the sin of the fall. And so I think there's a purpose behind that he planted us in the garden, to tend to things and use our hands to stay busy. And there's so many benefits to that. But as you know, like, we use our hands totally different than what we were intended to do. I mean, how many of us actually work hard? And I'm not saying, like, maybe mentally and all that stuff, but like physically we no longer do the same amount of work that we used to, right? Because of technology advances and all that stuff, and those are huge blessings. But I also think we've lost true connection to ourselves, but not only ourselves, but also with God, because we're not doing what our bodies were created to do, and that's work with our hands. And so that's why we love the farm, and I think that's why God has like showed us a lot of convictions and given us a purpose the last few years as we've been living on this farm. And as we dive more into our Bibles, we realize like we don't know a lot of things, and that is such a beautiful, beautiful gift. And so we dive more into our Bibles to gain his wisdom and gain his knowledge. And as we've been doing that, we just like, Ben and I really want to just scream it from the rooftops out of love to those, and be like, hey, life is so beautiful. And I don't know, we just have a huge passion for the farm, for life, for healthy living, for growing in your walk and your faith with the Lord. And I really have a passion to share that, I guess, with you guys. So I'm really excited that you guys are here, and I have a bunch of topics I want to eventually talk about. Maybe next time not do it in the goat pen, because you guys are getting weird angles here and distractions. But it makes me excited, makes me scared to be doing this, but I also know that God can do incredibly good out of anything that we do, all to the glory of God. And so I'm excited to see where this goes. And even if it doesn't go anywhere, like, I tried, and I'm going on to the next thing that God calls me to do, or whether it's to continue this, I don't know, but all for his will and all for his glory. So hopefully you guys can stay tuned, and I will have more content and topics for you guys. But in the meantime, I encourage you to sit in the silence and talk to our Creator, and really just rest. That has changed our lives drastically, to just hear. I don't think our world slows down enough to really listen. We all want to have an opinion, we all want to be heard, but we don't actually sit and listen. So I encourage you to do that today and see what comes of it. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you in the next video.